James D. Frankel was a child of contradictions. He was a boy who seemed to have everything, yet felt an inexplicable emptiness inside. Born into a Jewish family, he grew up in a home where tradition was strong, but faith was curiously absent. His parents were diligent in their observance of cultural customs, ensuring that the family celebrated every holiday with enthusiasm and respect. They lit the menorah during Hanukkah, recited the blessings, and enjoyed the festive meals. They gathered around the table for Passover, recounting the story of the Exodus with a sense of duty and pride. However, amidst all these rituals, there was a noticeable absence. God remained an unspoken presence, a figure relegated to the background of their secular lives. The prayers were recited, but the faith behind them seemed hollow, almost mechanical. Young James, with a mind eager for knowledge, found this perplexing. He was a curious child, always asking questions, always seeking to understand the world around him. While other children learned prayers and stories from their scriptures, he was left with a void, an unanswered question mark where his spirituality should have been. He watched his friends with a sense of envy as they recited their prayers with conviction, their faces glowing with a faith he could not comprehend. This absence, this lack of a defined belief system, would become the driving force behind his lifelong quest for truth. He began to journal his thoughts, trying to make sense of the world and his place in it. His entries were filled with questions about existence, purpose, and the nature of faith. It was a journey that would take him through the tumultuous waves of political ideologies and the profound depths of religious texts. He devoured books on philosophy, politics, and religion, seeking answers in the words of great thinkers and leaders. His was not a rejection of faith, but rather a yearning for it. He longed for a belief system that resonated with his inner self, something that could fill the void he had felt since childhood. It was a yearning that would lead him down unexpected paths, pushing him to challenge conventions and confront uncomfortable truths, and he questioned everything he had been taught, seeking to understand the deeper meaning behind the rituals and traditions he had grown up with. Little did he know, his journey would eventually lead him to a faith that resonated with his very core, a faith that answered the unspoken questions of his childhood, Islam. It was in the teachings of Islam that he found the answers he had been seeking, a sense of peace and purpose that had eluded him for so long. The Koran spoke to him in a way no other text had. Its verses resonated with his soul, providing clarity and guidance. He found solace in the prayers, a connection to the divine that he had never experienced before. Islam also taught him the importance of community and service. He began to engage in acts of charity, finding fulfillment in helping others. This newfound sense of purpose gave his life a direction he had never known. As he reflected on his journey, James realized that his quest for truth had been a journey of self-discovery. It had led him to a faith that not only answered his questions but also enriched his life in ways he had never imagined. James D. Frankel, the boy without a prayer, had finally found his faith, and in doing so, he had found himself. James's inquisitive nature, while endearing to some, proved to be his undoing within the strict confines of his Jewish school. From a young age, James was always the one to ask questions that others wouldn't dare to. His mind was a whirlwind of curiosity, constantly seeking to understand the world around him. He possessed an insatiable thirst for knowledge, always pushing boundaries, always questioning. His teachers often found him engrossed in books, his hand perpetually raised, eager to delve deeper into every subject. His classmates admired his intellect but were also wary of the attention his questions often drew. This relentless curiosity, however, was often met with resistance, particularly when his queries delved into the realm of faith. The school, steeped in tradition, valued obedience and reverence over inquiry. James's questions, though innocent, were seen as a disruption to the established order. One fateful day, during a lesson on Jewish history, young James dared to ask a question that would forever alter the course of his life. The lesson was about the Exodus, a cornerstone of Jewish faith and identity. The rabbi spoke of the Exodus, of Moses parting the Red Sea, a tale that had captivated generations. The story was told with great reverence, each word carefully chosen to inspire awe and faith in the students. James, however, wanted to understand the how and the why. He was not content with just the narrative. He sought the mechanics behind the miracle. How did Moses part the sea? Why did it happen in that particular way? His innocent questions, seeking logical explanations for the miraculous, were misconstrued as defiance. The rabbi, who had always seen James as a bright but troublesome student, took his questions as a personal affront. The rabbi, a stern man with little patience for what he perceived as insolence, saw James's inquiries as a challenge to his authority, a seed of doubt that threatened to disrupt the carefully cultivated order. To him, James's questions were not just about understanding. They were about challenging the very foundation of their faith. The result was swift and unforgiving expulsion. James was sent out of the classroom, his belongings hastily packed, and he was told not to return. The decision was final, and there was no room for appeal. Cast out from the very institution meant to nurture his Jewish identity, James found himself adrift. The school had been his second home, a place where he had hoped to grow and learn. Now he was left to navigate the world on his own, his questions still unanswered, his thirst for knowledge unquenched. The expulsion left a deep scar, but it also ignited a fire within him, a determination to seek the truth no matter the cost. The expulsion from Jewish school left an indelible mark on young James. It was during his teenage years, a time of rebellion and intellectual exploration, that he found himself irresistibly drawn to the fiery rhetoric of Marxism. The ideology, with its promise of equality and justice, resonated deeply with his innate sense of fairness and justice. Marxism offered a framework for understanding the world's inequalities, a lens through which he could analyze the power dynamics that he saw playing out around him daily. The writings of Marx, Engels, and Lenin became his new scriptures and guiding principles. He devoured their words, finding solace in their critiques of capitalism and their vision for a classless society. His youthful idealism found a home in the collective spirit of communism, a stark contrast to the rigid structures of the religious institution that had cast him out. It was during this period of intense engagement with Marxist philosophy that James found himself deeply immersed in the works of Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, and other revolutionary thinkers. He spent countless hours poring over their texts, captivated by their vision of a society free from the chains of class oppression and economic exploitation. Amidst this intellectual fervor, James had his first meaningful encounter with Islam. A classmate, a quiet but friendly boy named Omar, noticed James's insatiable curiosity and relentless quest for truth. One day Omar approached James with a thoughtful gift, a copy of the Koran. Omar, sensing a kindred spirit in James's relentless pursuit of understanding, believed that the Islamic holy book held profound answers to the existential questions that plagued him. He hoped that the Quran's timeless wisdom might offer James a new perspective on life and its myriad complexities. James accepted the gift with polite curiosity, intrigued by Omar's sincerity, but not entirely convinced of its relevance to his current intellectual pursuits. His mind was still firmly anchored in the revolutionary ideals of Marxism, and he saw the Quran as just another book among many. He placed the Quran on his bookshelf, where it sat untouched, gathering dust alongside volumes of Marx and Engels. The Quran, with its ornate cover and gilded pages, seemed out of place among the well-worn texts of communist theory. At that point in his life, the allure of a classless society, free from exploitation and inequality, held far more appeal than the spiritual promises of any religion. James was drawn to the idea of a world where everyone was equal, where resources were shared, and where the working class could rise above their oppressors. Little did he know that unassuming book, with its gilded pages and Arabic script, held the key to a transformation that would shake him to his core. The Quran, with its profound teachings and spiritual depth, was waiting patiently for the moment when James would be ready to explore its contents. The words within, waiting to be discovered, contained a message that would resonate with his soul in ways he could never have imagined. The Quran's verses, rich with meaning and wisdom, had the potential to offer James a new lens through which to view the world, a lens that combined both spiritual and social justice. As time passed, James's journey through Marxist philosophy began to intersect with his growing curiosity about the Quran. He found himself increasingly drawn to the book that had once gathered dust on his shelf. The more he read, the more he realized that the Quran's teachings on justice, compassion, and the dignity of human beings resonated deeply with his own values. James discovered that the Quran's call for social justice and the equitable treatment of all people aligned with the very principles he had admired in Marxist thought. However, the Quran also offered something more, a spiritual dimension that spoke to the heart and soul, providing a sense of purpose and connection that transcended material concerns. Engaging in discussions with Omar and other friends, James began to see the Quran not just as a religious text but as a comprehensive guide to living a life of integrity, compassion, and justice. These conversations opened his eyes to the profound impact that faith could have on one's worldview and actions. Attending community gatherings and lectures about Islam, James listened intently to the teachings and stories shared by scholars and fellow seekers. He found himself increasingly moved by the depth of wisdom and the emphasis on social harmony and personal growth that Islam offered. Reflecting on his journey, James realized that the Quran had become more than just a book on his shelf. It had become a source of inspiration and guidance, offering him a new perspective on life and a deeper understanding of his own quest for truth and justice. The Quran, once gathering dust, had now become a beacon of light in his intellectual and spiritual. Professor Frankl, renowned physicist, prided himself on logic. Religion, mere superstition; faith, a crutch; his world, equations, experiments, concrete evidence. Then a casual conversation with friends. They spoke of Islam, its tenets, its beauty. Frankl scoffed. An intellectual dead end, he declared. Little did he know this conversation was a seed destined to bloom. One evening, amidst his research, a verse from the Quran struck him. It was a moment that seemed to transcend time, as if the words were speaking directly to his soul. Have those who disbelieved not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and we separated them? 21:30. The verse echoed in his mind, intertwining with his scientific understanding, the elegance, the poetry, the resonance with the Big Bang theory. It was uncanny. The more he pondered, the more he saw the parallels between the ancient text and modern science. Could it be? Could his staunch skepticism be misplaced? He'd always prided himself on his rationality, his commitment to empirical evidence. Yet here was something that defied his expectations. The thought was unsettling, yet exhilarating. It was as if a door had been opened, revealing a new dimension of understanding. He felt a rush of excitement, tempered by a deep sense of uncertainty. For years, he'd dismissed faith as irrational. He had always viewed religious beliefs as a crutch for the weak-minded, a way to explain the unexplainable without the rigor of scientific inquiry. Now he found himself drawn to it, not out of blind belief, but out of a growing sense of wonder. He began to see faith not as the antithesis of reason, but as a complement to it, a different way of understanding the universe. The universe, in its vast complexity, seemed to whisper of something beyond, something greater than himself. He felt a profound connection to the cosmos, a sense of being part of a grander design. The stars, the galaxies, the very fabric of space and time, all seemed to be part of a divine tapestry, woven with purpose and meaning. He began to delve deeper into his studies, comparing religious texts with scientific theories, seeking a bridge between the two. His journey was not just intellectual, but deeply personal, a quest for truth that transcended the boundaries of his previous understanding. As he continued his exploration, he found solace in the idea that faith and reason could coexist. The seeds of doubt had been planted, but they were growing into something more, a profound sense of wonder and a deeper appreciation for the mysteries of existence. Frankl's transformation wasn't a sudden epiphany, but a gradual awakening. It was a journey that began with a spark of curiosity, a desire to understand something beyond his own experience. He had always been a seeker of knowledge, a man who delved into the depths of human culture and history. But this was different, this was personal. He began attending talks at the local mosque, initially as an observer, an anthropologist in a foreign land. He sat quietly, taking notes, trying to remain detached. But the more he listened, the more he found himself drawn in. The words spoken were not just lectures, they were heartfelt expressions of faith, of a way of life that was both ancient and ever-present. But the warmth, the sense of community, the sincere devotion of the worshippers, it moved him. He saw people from all walks of life coming together, united by a common purpose, a shared belief. It was a stark contrast to the fragmented, individualistic society he was used to. Here there was a sense of belonging, a feeling of being part of something greater than oneself. He felt a connection, a kinship he hadn't anticipated. It was as if he had found a missing piece of himself, a part of his soul that had been dormant, waiting to be awakened. The smiles, the greetings, the simple acts of kindness, they all spoke to him in a language that transcended words. He started learning Arabic, painstakingly deciphering the Koran's verses. It was a challenging task, but one he approached with determination and reverence. Each letter, each word, was a key to unlocking a deeper understanding, a richer meaning. He spent hours poring over texts, seeking guidance from those more knowledgeable, immersing himself in the language and its nuances. Each word, each phrase resonated deeper. It was as if the Quran was speaking directly to his heart, addressing his doubts, his fears, his hopes. The more he read, the more he felt a sense of peace, a clarity that had eluded him for so long. It was a spiritual journey, one that took him beyond the confines of his own mind and into the vast expanse of divine wisdom. He discovered the beauty of Islamic art, the richness of its history, the depth of its philosophy, the intricate patterns, the vibrant colors, the meticulous craftsmanship. They all told a story of a civilization that valued knowledge, creativity, and faith. He found himself captivated by the elegance and sophistication of Islamic architecture, the way it blended form and function, spirituality and practicality. It was a world he'd never imagined, a world that challenged his assumptions, his preconceptions, his very identity. It was a journey of self-discovery, of transformation, of finding truth in the most unexpected places. And as he stood there looking at the mosque with awe, he realized that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in his life, a chapter filled with hope, understanding, and a deeper connection to the world around him. The decision to convert was not an easy one. He grappled with doubts, fears, the potential repercussions. What would his colleagues think? His family? Would they understand? Would they accept him? The weight of his decision pressed upon him, but the pull towards Islam was too strong to ignore. He realized that faith wasn't about blind acceptance, but about seeking truth wherever it may lead. It was about acknowledging the limitations of human understanding, about embracing the mystery and wonder of existence, and in that embrace he found a sense of peace, a sense of belonging he'd never known before. Initially, Frankl kept his conversion private. He feared judgment, ridicule, perhaps even ostracism. He continued his life as before, but a profound change had occurred within. He started praying 5 times a day, discreetly at first, in his office, in the library, finding solace and strength in the ritual. He began fasting during Ramadan, a physical and spiritual discipline that surprised him with its power. It wasn't deprivation he felt, but purification. A heightened awareness of his blessings, a deeper connection to his faith and to those less fortunate. The secret weighed on him. He yearned to share his newfound faith with his family, but the fear of rejection held him back. What if they didn't understand? What if it drove a wedge between them? The thought was unbearable. Yet he knew he couldn't hide it forever. Truth, like light, will always find a way out. One evening he gathered his family. His voice trembled as he spoke, sharing his journey, his struggles, his newfound faith. Silence followed. His wife's eyes welled with tears. His children looked at him, a mix of confusion and concern on their faces. The conversation was difficult, emotional, raw. There were tears, questions, moments of anger, moments of hurt. But through it all, Frankl spoke from the heart, with honesty and vulnerability. He didn't preach or proselytize, but simply shared his truth, his journey, his transformation. To his surprise, his family, though initially shocked, responded with love and acceptance. They saw the positive change in him, the peace he'd found, the joy that radiated from within. His conversion became a bridge, not a divide, bringing them closer, fostering deeper understanding and respect. Frankl's newfound faith permeated every aspect of his life. It wasn't just a superficial change, it was a profound transformation that touched the very core of his being. Every morning he would spend time in quiet reflection, contemplating the deeper meanings of existence and his place in the grand tapestry of life. This daily ritual became a cornerstone of his new life, grounding him and providing a sense of purpose and direction. He became more patient, more compassionate, more forgiving. These qualities were not just limited to his personal life, but extended to his professional interactions as well. He found joy in small acts of kindness, whether it was helping a stranger or offering a listening ear to a colleague. His newfound patience allowed him to navigate conflicts with grace, turning potential disputes into opportunities for understanding and growth. He treated his students with greater empathy, seeing beyond their academic performance to the individuals they were. He understood that each student came with their own set of challenges and strengths, and he made it his mission to nurture their potential. His office door was always open, and he became a mentor and confidant to many. His students felt seen and valued, which in turn inspired them to strive for excellence. His lectures, once focused solely on scientific principles, now touched upon the wonders of creation, the interconnectedness of all things. He spoke with a passion that was infectious, drawing his students into the mysteries of the universe. He encouraged them to ask big questions and to seek answers, not just in textbooks, but in the world around them. His teaching philosophy evolved to include a holistic approach, integrating science with spirituality and ethics. His research, too, took on a new dimension. He began to explore areas that he had previously overlooked, driven by a curiosity that was both scientific and spiritual. He delved into topics that bridged the gap between empirical evidence and metaphysical inquiry, seeking to understand the deeper truths that lay beneath the surface of observable phenomena. He explored the intersection of science and spirituality, finding unexpected connections between quantum physics and Islamic cosmology. This interdisciplinary approach opened up new avenues of thought and research, challenging conventional boundaries and encouraging a more integrated perspective. He found that the principles of quantum mechanics often mirrored the philosophical teachings of his faith, leading to a richer, more nuanced understanding of both. He published papers that challenged the secular scientific divide, advocating for a more holistic understanding of the universe and our place within it. His work was met with both acclaim and skepticism, but he remained steadfast in his belief that true knowledge required an openness to multiple perspectives. He became a sought-after speaker at conferences, where he shared his vision of a world where science and spirituality coexisted harmoniously, each enriching the other. Professor Frankl's journey is a testament to the power of open-mindedness, the courage to question, to seek truth beyond preconceived notions. It's a story of transformation, not through blind faith, but through intellectual curiosity, spiritual yearning, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. His story reminds us that the pursuit of truth is a journey, not a destination. It's a journey that requires humility, courage, and an unwavering belief that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, will guide us to the answers we seek.